over the practice quiz. All right, number one, identify the center and radius. You should already know by now it's opposite, square root. Heard that over and over in class. So opposite of -3 is +3, opposite of 2 is -2. And my center, my radius is the square root of 36, which is 6. Write an equation in the circle. We're center, so now we're going backwards. Okay, so again, it's opposite. And this time we would have to square it, because remember we want r squared. So we have x minus 2, 20 squared, plus y plus 2, 20 squared, equals 2 squared, just 4. Now we graph it. We're practicing graphing. Again, opposite, square root. Doesn't change. So my center is 2, -2. My radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. So I go to 2, -2, plot it, and count on a distance of 3 north, east, south, and west. So 3 there, 3 there, 3 there, and 1, 2, 3 there. And then I just do my best to draw a circle through all those right there. There's your answer for that one. Complete the square. Okay, this is the most work, most steps to remember. Remember, we get the x's and y's to one side and constant stays on one side. Group them together. The y squared is already positive, so we're going to move the x and everything from the right side to the left side besides the constant. So we have x squared minus 12x plus blank. Remember, we always put the plus blank in there so we can complete the square with that c. Now I have plus y squared plus 8y plus blank equals -4. Remember, how do I get the c? Remember, this is ax squared plus bx plus c. So I'm solving for c on both of these. And how do I get the c? It's always 1/2 of b squared. So it's 1/2 of b, -6 squared, 36. 1/2 of b squared every time. Half of 8 is +4. So if you want to put the +4 there, go and do that so you don't remember. You remember you can just move it on down when you complete that square to make it a perfect square trinomial. 4 squared is 16, and therefore I have a plus blank over here. I added 52 to the left side, so I must add 52 to the right side. Okay, so now for my completing or factoring this perfect square trinomial, as I told you, you can go ahead and just slide that -6 right into here. So -6 squared plus y, you can slide that right on down, plus 4 squared equals 52 minus 4 is 48. Okay, so there's my standard form. And again, it's opposite square root. So we have 6 comma -4 for the opposite and the opposite. The square root of 48. Remember, that's going to break down the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. Remember, I told you start with half the number. Half of 48 is 24. So if I wrote down those perfect squares, 4, 9, 16, 25, and that's as high as I have to go because the highest it's going to be is half of that number if it's not a perfect square itself. 48 is not a perfect square, so half of 48 is 24, so 25 is already past it. So I go down to the next perfect square to check that, and I do 48 divided by 16, that's 3. If you didn't know that, you'd plug in your calculator. So I have square root of 16 times square root of 3, and of course then that simplifies down to 4 root 3. Always exact answer, no decimals. So I don't want to see you put in a calculator and give me almost 6.9 something, whatever is your decimal would give you. Okay. Write a rule for each to describe each transformation. Okay. So you can see the blue is the image and the black is the pre-image because the blue has the primes on them. So what has happened here? N has gone from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3. Okay, it didn't reflect directly across the y-x axis here, right? Didn't go It didn't go from here down to down to here, so that's not a reflection across the x-axis. So therefore, it's a pretty good chance. Therefore, it's probably a rotation. And if you can visually see that, you can see that it got rotated. Okay, well, which way is it getting rotated? It's going from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3. You can see it getting rotated like this, okay? And so this is coming up to that point. Uh, and so we're just rotating one quadrant, and it's counterclockwise. So that is a rotation of 90 degrees. Now, let's say you weren't confident that that was it. I could take a point. Well, first of all, I could check to see T goes to T prime, quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, N to N prime, quadrant 2 to 3, M to M prime, quadrant 2 to 3, and V, which is right next to the M prime here, V goes from 3 to 4, and V to V prime. But let's say you still weren't confident. If you remember your rule for a rotation of 90 degrees, which is then is negative yx, I could test a point and see if it works out. So n, for example, we want to use n, that's at negative 1, 2. This is n. That means n prime would be at negative 2, negative 1. Well, is that where n prime is? Negative 2, negative 1. Yes, it is. It's right there at that point. So we just showed that it's a rotation of 90 degrees. You could do that with all the points, but you should be able to easily see that's a rotation of 90. Okay, here, number 6. I'm comparing the R to the R prime right there. That looks like it reflects right over the x-axis. So let's check the others. Does C reflect right over the, that's two ways Z prime? No, so that is not. So if I just went by the 1 point of P and P prime, I think it is there, or R and R prime, whichever, I would see that C and C prime do not reflect directly across. So therefore, it's not a reflection over the x-axis. But if I go back to this original, it also goes right through the origin. Remember, if it goes to the origin, that's a rotation of 180. So let's see if C and C prime go right through the origin. Yes, they do. How about S and S prime go right through the origin? Yes, they do. So therefore, that's a rotation of 180. And remember, rotation of 180 is a reflection over the x-axis and then over the y-axis, or I could go the opposite direction, reflection over the y-axis first and then the x-axis. All right, here we should recognize this is a translation rule. So we're translating a point or sliding the point, as it might have been called in middle school. So it's plot 3, 2, and it says to go right 2, that's the plus 2, because that's in the x direction. X direction right here means left or right. Since it's plus 2, it's right 2, and y means down 3. Y direction is up or down. This is minus 3, it's down 3. So I just go right 2, down 3, follow the rules. And there it is. So that was A, and here is A prime. Now don't forget, you could also just literally put these, plug the X into there right there, 3, and you get 3 plus 2 is 5. That's the X coordinate here. Plug the 2 right into there. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Okay, that point is 5, negative 1. Okay, so there's no excuse for missing that. That's basic 6th grade math, adding or subtracting integers. Okay. All right. Number 8. Given the pre-image of triangle ABC, draw the triangle ABC and reflect it over the line y equals negative 1. Well, you got to know from algebra 1 that y equals negative 1 is a horizontal line. Okay, going through the y equals negative 1. Remember, the y-axis is the vertical one. So negative 1 is right there. So we just go ahead and plot the points, 1, 2. So that was A. Okay, now I'm going to reflect across, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right down there. I accidentally got put in there. So there's A prime. B is 1, negative 2. 1, oops, that's negative 1. 1, negative 2 goes to 1 away, so it's going to go 1 up. So that was B. There's B prime. and negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2 right there. Okay, again, that's only one away, so it's going up there. So there's C prime. So I would reconnect A prime to B prime to C prime. And there'd be my image. Okay, don't forget to connect them back together. It's a triangle. Okay, and we will make the ABC, ABC, we'll make that in red, and that's my pre-image, or the original points. All right, number 9, find a rule that describes the translation. So it's telling me it's a translation right there. I know all translations are in the form of x, y maps onto x plus some number, comma, y plus a number, and the plus could be a minus sign as well. Okay, if you're going up or down or left or right. So it says it wants, how do you get from y to v is what it's asking. Here's y. That's my pre-image. How do I get to v? V is right there. Okay, so my rule would be x comma y maps onto. Now, did it move in the x direction? Yes, it did. It went right. How many? From negative 4 to positive 2? That's plus 6. Did it go up or down at all? No, it didn't. So the y stays, that's y. It's the same thing as y plus 0. Okay, it's just y. So there's my rule right there. Okay, last one. Rotation of 270 is the same thing as a rotation of negative 90. Or negative 90. Oh, rotate 270 degrees clockwise. Hold on here. I forgot I wrote it in this form right here. Rotate 270 degrees clockwise. Remember, clockwise already is negative. So that really says rotation of negative 270 right there, which is the same thing as rotation of positive 90. Okay? Remember, clockwise is negative. Counterclockwise is positive. Okay, so the rule for rotation of 90 degrees is xy becomes negative yx. You should have this memorized by now. Not very have it memorized for a quiz. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and write down the original point. A is 2, 3. B is 5, 3. And C is 5, negative 1. Now, I'm not concerned if you go ahead and plot the original, the pre-image, plot those points, you draw that triangle. What I am concerned about is your image. So A prime, negative y, x, B prime, negative y, x. And you should be saying this each time to have it memorized. C prime, negative y, x. Okay, I've got it written right underneath the negative yx right here. So no excuse for missing this. Now go ahead and just plot those. Negative 3, 2, negative 1, 2, 3, 2. There's A prime. Negative 3, 5. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, let's get rid of that first one. B prime. And 1, 5. C prime. And there's my triangle right there. All right, that goes ahead and covers the practice test. Every problem explained.